the first thing Leonardo DiCaprio ever said to me when we met. I was 15, he was 20. The first thing he said to me was, and this is at like a big rehearsal thing and everybody's meeting each other for the first time, Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann's there, and Leo shakes my hand and he goes, "You're the one that got the Soderbergh movie, King of the Hill." And I went, yeah. And he goes, "I really wanted that job."
Right. Welcome to After Hours at the Burgundy Room. Zach Selwyn here with you for the next 45 to an hour or so. Very excited to have a buddy in here who's a guest. He's an actor. He's a musician. He's a good guy. Do you write too?
Sure
he does.
Hand me a pencil.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
Write his name. He can write his name. Modern day Renaissance man, some might call him. He's worked with a lot of the biggest actors in Hollywood, from Leonardo DiCaprio to Clint Eastwood to my girl Angelina Jolie, Harrison Ford, Baz Luhrmann.
I don't know.
Oliver Stone.
Baz.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Bradford's here.
Hello.
Jesse Bradford. Jesse, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
After Hours. You,
This is my first podcast ever.
is it really?
First podcast
That's
ever.
fantastic. We're very lucky to have you. A lot of people might recognize you from numerous film and TV roles. I would say my first time I recognized you, or at least was aware of who you were as an actor, was in, and don't laugh, Bring It On.
Of course.
Okay.
That's
Good.
the
the one that
That's the
everyone-
one,
Okay.
yeah.
When that movie came out, first of all, I was in love with every girl in the movie. I was just ready to get down.
Dude.
And then I was like, but the brother's funny. And that was you.
yeah.
And I was like,
that
that
was
guy's
me.
funny. I was like, that dude's, and we're probably
Cool.
about the same age. So I was like, man, how'd he get that part? Little did I know, you've been auditioning and acting since you were a kid.
Yeah. I've been at it for 36 years.
Since you were born, you just started like diaper commercials.
Well,
and
my
stuff?
parents were both actors at the time.
Interesting.
And my mom in the late 70s was one of those faces you see on a lot of commercials.
Okay.
Those people where you're like, that's like the second commercial during this basketball game that had that dude in it.
Right.
She was one of those.
Amazing.
And,
Okay.
Yeah, and then she got pregnant, and the way she tells it, all these casting directors that she was getting to know in New York City were like, hey, we need babies for stuff, and generally speaking, we don't like the parents of the babies
Of course,
that we have
the
to deal with.
showbiz moms and all that
and
stuff.
they were like, we like you, so if you want to like just backdoor your kid into this, we want you around instead of somebody else. And so, my folks talked it over and kind of said, yeah, he can quit if he wants.
Right.
Let's start making a college fund for him, And
That's,
then
and a lot of parents here in Hollywood, myself being an actor as well on occasion, a lot of people say, when's your kid getting in the business? And I'm a little bit more of the opposite of your mom and dad, where I'm kind of like, no.
Oh, I totally get that. I think I will be the same way, quite frankly.
Interesting.
I think when I have kids one day, I think I will be as open-minded as possible about them wanting to get involved in the business I'm in, but I will probably discourage them a little and be look, it's a weird life. I got to tell you, by the time I was in my 30s, I kind of wished I was a doctor, I just had like a gig, a normal
Just a fallback gig.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the guys don't have backup plans. People come to Hollywood, and anyone who's listening to After Hours tonight must understand how many people arrive in this town every day to try to make it as an actor.
I heard 900 people move to LA every day.
Every day.
They're not all actors, but I bet 800 of them are.
At least. Yeah. I came here when I was 18. I went to college because I sort of needed to have that backup plan. And it's kind of understood that I was going to college. If I just came out here to act, I would have been disowned. But when I got here, I was like, oh, it's cool. I'll just spend 4 years messing around in college, and then I'll transition into like TV and film when I'm 22. First thing you realize when you're 22 is that there's 1,000 guys your age, like you, who have been doing this since they were babies.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
And that's experience that a kid out of college doesn't have.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
but then, there's also the flip side of that, which is, and I'm feeling it right now, I know I'm very good at what I do, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to continue doing it, but I can feel a minor degree to which I am not the shiny new toy on the shelf.
Right.
So that same kid that just showed up and has no experience, background whatsoever, but is good, is going to garner a lot of attention because people are looking for the new next thing as opposed to dusting it off and going, we know this guy can do it,
When was like the first time you went out and you sort of got something and you're like, wow, I like doing this?
Well, I always liked it. I remember driving into New Jersey one day to go shoot a movie when I was like 4 or 5, like probably 5. And, I would have been in like first grade or kindergarten that day. And instead I was driving out somewhere new with my parents to go do adventurous stuff. And I literally remember that. And I remember always feeling like I had this incredible privilege to be able to just kind of leave and go do all this crazy stuff and work with these people. And, when I played Harrison Ford's son when I was, 9 years old.
Wow.
And that's Han Solo, dude.
That's Han Solo.
I was like, what? I get to hang out with Han Solo instead of like minding the incubator in second grade or whatever, third grade, like the chickens hatching or something. I don't know. Like, it just seems so much more interesting to me.
I mean, you should have been Kylo Ren.
I have a very specific memory at about age 12 or 13 of walking around with my buddy Craig while he was on his paper route. And he was explaining to me that he didn't like these people at this house because they were jerks and they didn't tip him or blah, blah, blah. And so he would put their newspaper in, like, you'd take a newspaper, you'd put it in the box like long ways like that. He would turn it the other way and then like punch it in so that it would fold on itself. And I remember him explaining how he didn't like these people and this is how he like fights it. And I remember thinking, I'm so lucky that I have a better job than this.
Right. I'm not stuffing papers into the angry neighbors.
Yeah. So I like to think I've never taken it for granted.
What was the Harrison Ford movie?
It's called Presumed Innocent.
Of course.
And by the way, I did see him a couple years ago, but I haven't, it's not like I get in touch with him, but he was like a nice guy.
So he's not coming by to stop in for a drink at the Burgundy room right now?
I saw him when I was like 24 or 5. I like won this award. It was like a young Hollywood.
Right. You got a surfboard.
Whatever. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Right.
And he was there because they were honoring him with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And after I got on stage and accepted my award and I knew that all eyes had been on me for a minute, I made sure to go find him and just go, hey, man, I played your son in Presumed Innocent. And he looked at me and he went, that's why you look familiar.
Wow.
And whether that was true or not, who cares? Because
exactly.
He just handled it well.
And he's always high anyway.
He was like, what?
One of my favorite Baz Luhrmann movies was Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
But how old were you when you were doing that movie?
Oh, I was like 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're working with Leonardo DiCaprio and Baz Luhrmann, of course, and Claire Danes was in that movie.
Yeah. Me and Claire Danes were we're the same age.
Okay.
And we were minors. We were the only minors. So we were in like school every day together, tutorial with a tutor, just us and her.
I'm going to throw out some words to you. I want you to tell me what memory it brings back around, all right?
Okay.
You never know when there's a Picasso around.
Okay, I know exactly what that is. That's when I read for Hook, and
this is the Robin Williams movie.
Yeah,
Hook?
the Robin Williams movie Hook. It was down to like me and Charlie Korsmo, the kid who got the job, and I went to Amblin, which is Spielberg's thing. And I was like, whatever, 11 years old or something. And I remember sitting in this big conference room with him. And I remember as I sat down in this big, like Spanish style, heavy wooden chair, I bumped my head on the back of the chair so hard. And as an adult, you'd be like, oh man, I just bumped my head. That's so embarrassing. But as a kid, I just froze and was like, oh God, don't let on that you bumped your head,
Oh.
But anyway, and then I read with Robin Williams, and
wow.
in the scene with Robin Williams, they gave me a baseball and they wanted me like playing with this baseball, and I'm throwing this baseball in the air at the top of the scene. He like reaches over and catches it, and he goes, careful, you never know when there's a Picasso around. And it was just an ad-lib line. Just an ad-lib line from him to start off the scene, Just Robin Williams being Robin Williams.
Right.
Yeah.
And there you are testing for this movie.
Yeah.
That's why, by the way, you didn't get it because you hit your head and you didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you.
They reviewed the video and they're like, oh yeah, look at that. He hit his head. He's out.
What was the show you were just on? It was on
the
CBS?
last bigger show I was on was on NBC. It was called Guys with Kids.
It. Okay, Guys with Kids.
But then I was just on a CBS show for 3 episodes called Code Black. I play a murderer and an attempted rapist.
Oh, that's fun.
On Code Black. It
that's
actually
really
was. I've never gotten the chance to do some stuff like that before.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, do you sort of find yourself getting typecast as sort of the quirky or funny comic relief brother? But this is a good...
Well, it depends, man. The more I experience life and this business, the more I kind of feel like I hate to do all this like navel gazing and self-examination, because if you come in the middle of this podcast, it probably comes off like I'm self-obsessed. But here we go anyway. I feel like I'm a little too weird to always play the leading man, and a little too leading man to always play the weird guy. I'm like right in the middle somewhere, so it's always kind of specific, the jobs that I end up getting.
But here you
or
are
getting
playing a
offered or
murder and attempted rapist.
Well, no, that was completely different because nobody's ever given me the chance to play pure evil.
Right.
I've played like a dick. I've played uptight. I've played, officious, things like that.
Officious. Nice. And now you're playing
never evil.
educated.
Yeah. I wrote that word on my hand. So I get it right.
Nice work.
Yeah. Everybody from the top down has some story where they go, damn it, that was the job I wanted. Why couldn't I? Matter of fact, the first thing Leonardo DiCaprio ever said to me when we met, I was 15, he was 20. The first thing he said to me was, and this is at like a big rehearsal thing and everybody's meeting each other for the first time, Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann's there, and Leo shakes my hand and he goes, you're the one that got the Soderbergh movie, King of the Hill. And I went, yeah. And he goes, I really wanted that job.
Nice. Right. I thought you were going to say
the only job I've ever gotten from him.
That's great, though. The first thing I thought you were going to say he said to you was, hey, man, you want to go out with a couple of Victoria's Secret models later?
I wish that's what he said.
Me too.
At 15, I wouldn't have known what to do with it.
Exactly.
Where are we going?
You've worked with Soderbergh. That's incredible. I mean,
yeah. That was you asked me before, like the first time I remember booking,
right.
Like, I don't know if that was the first time I remember booking something. It wasn't, but it was King of the Hill I was like 13 and it was the first movie I ever did that people really took notice. Like it was a substantial movie that year. It was on all the top 10 lists and Soderbergh was already an exciting director.
Yeah.
And King of the Hill was one of the movies that really cemented him. That was tremendously exciting. I remember all that being pretty badass.
Who else was in that film?
Lauryn Hill has 3 scenes in that movie from the Fugees.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Yeah, I'm blanking out on other. Oh, Adrian Brody is in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've done more in the 36 years you've been acting, really, than most people will do in their entire careers. And I mean, you still got a lot of time left. You know what I mean?
I like to think you're right on all of that. Yeah. And I do. I have this weird feeling sometimes where I feel like due to what I do and who I've met and the pace at which I've kind of the pace that very long ago became pretty natural and normal to me, I think it takes a little age and wisdom to reach a point where you realize that that's not normal. Yeah. And as I like to think of it sometimes, I feel like I've lived a good solid 2 lives or so, worth of weird stuff happening at least.
And experience and travel. And,
exactly.
And yeah.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Life is the culmination of experiences.
That's all it is.
And if you cram a shit ton of experiences into 15 years, let alone 36 or whatever, it's interesting. It's weird.
You can burn out. You can
and a lot of actors in general do, and especially child actors.
What do you credit your sort of like survival and sort of ability to move on, stick and move kind of thing with?
Well,
is it your parents?
I would say upbringing is a big part of it, and my parents, they never pushed me towards it.
Right.
And if anything, they were super conscious of, they didn't want to be stage parents. They didn't want to force me. So they would actually push me towards not doing it on some level, or at least they would push towards, you don't have to do this ever at all if you don't want. You say the word, you never have to do this again. And then I'd be like, no, I want to keep doing it. I just want to go play Little League today.
Of course.
And
I want to be
then we're playing Little League today. We don't care that
Yeah.
Oliver Stone wants to meet you, or whatever. I made that up. But it was about that, I think. It was about prioritization. And then also, I didn't grow up out here in LA.
Right.
I never moved out here to seek fame and fortune until I was an adult. And I always had I always thought of, I think I got lucky somehow where doing it since before I even knew what it was meant that I never attached any hopes and dreams and self-aggrandizing nonsense to it. It was just always like one of several activities I enjoy.
Let's go through some of your credits here. We got I remember Swimfan being a big lead for you.
Yeah. And Swimfan made tremendously more money than anybody kind of expected. I mean, it opened #1 and
wow.
It edged out this like De Niro film the weekend that it opened. Nobody expected that. And that
who was the co-star?
Was a boon for me. Erica Christensen.
Oh, right.
And Shiri Appleby.
Erica from Traffic.
That's right. She was just coming off of that.
And you mentioned De Niro. You've worked with Robert De Niro before?
I played his son when I was 4 or 5 years old. First movie I ever did. It's called Falling in Love. It's the only time since The Deer Hunter that De Niro and Meryl Streep worked together. And it was reviewed very poorly.
Wow. So you've been De Niro's son. You've been Harrison Ford's son.
Yeah.
Who else's son have you been?
James Woods.
Wow. These are all your fathers.
Off the top of my head.
This is, when you write your book in like 20 years, you call it All My Showbiz Fathers.
Yeah, exactly.
You have an interesting steam room story about Christopher Walken. Can you tell us that?
You guys have been listening all these times we've hung out, huh? Yeah, here. Okay, yeah. I was doing a movie. I did a movie with Chris Walken. It's called The Power of Few. Shot in New Orleans. I'm at this old hotel where we're all staying while we're down there, those of us that don't live there. And I'm in the little tiny little steam room. Sauna, really, but tiny. Like, 4 people could fit in this thing. And I'm sitting in there, and in walks Chris Walken, and we haven't even spoken. We don't really have any scenes together in the movie, so we hadn't really even spoken or kind of been on set at the same time. And Anthony Anderson was also in this movie, and he sits down, and I'm just a stranger to him, but I decide to like pipe up, and I go, "Hey, Mr. Walken, how you doing? We're working on the same movie right now." And he goes, "Oh yeah, The Power of Few," and I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "Anthony Anderson," and I go, "Yeah, man, Anthony," and he goes, "Yeah." And he gets up and leaves. He was in there for 30 seconds, man. It's not like I bugged him, but he was like, "I'm not doing this." And he left.
I'm out of here.
And I was like, okay.
He's like, he probably thought you were, like a sound guy or something.
I don't know what he thought, but that's my Chris Walken story.
I shot a pilot in Argentina in 2008.
Yeah.
And Dominic Monaghan was in it. Now he's dating Evangeline Lily. All right. I know this is not about me, this podcast, but I got to divert. I have a good steam room story. So Evangeline Lily and my wife are like becoming friendly, and we're all hanging out. And so one day I had like a morning off, and I decided to go down into the steam room. Now we're in this huge, amazing, beautiful hotel in Buenos Aires, and we go down to the steam room, and it's the size of like twice this bar.
Nice.
And there's the female side and the male side. And I walked in alone, and I was in there. And then I kind of see a female come in. And I don't think she knew I was in there because there was so much steam. And I kind of squinted. I'm like, oh my God, that's Evangeline Lily. And I was like, I'm in a fucking steam room in Argentina with Evangeline Lily. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm so married. But it was just one of those things that you put that one in your mind and you just create every single possible scenario your whole life about what could have happened.
It suddenly becomes the Phoebe Cates pool scene.
Exactly.
In
I was Judge Reinhold in the bathroom. Acting is a fickle business. Have you ever thought about what else you'd be doing? What else you'd like to be doing?
Well, I want to direct, and I went to school for it, and I feel like I have, grown up in this business. I think that when the time comes that I get that together, I think it's going to be something I'm okay at, So I want to do that, but that's not far afield from where I'm already at, right? So I honestly don't really think that I would have found acting on my own if I didn't fall into it as sort of the family business. I don't think I would have been like, I know what I want to do. I think it kind of found me. And I think the thing that I would have found is music. I think I'd be some level of struggling or otherwise musician.
We've hung out a few times late into the evening when there's been guitars around, and you're an incredible guitar player.
Thank you.
You actually blew me away. I remember we were all playing, and I think we were like drunk, and I was struggling through like Wild Horses or something. And then you came in and you just like nailed like some lead on it. And we were like, what?
Keith Richards has this great quote that I remember. And he says, nobody ever gets good at guitar by getting laid. You know what I mean? Like you get good at guitar by sitting around by yourself with like a tall boy going, I got to try this 20 more times and then I might have it.
Right.
I think it's about that commitment or whatever. Then once you learn how to play, maybe you're getting laid off of it.
Well,
but like, it's not.
It does
it's not
lead to.
Yeah,
right.
It's not the compulsion to be a rock star that makes you good at a trade, or the compulsion to be a blacksmith that makes you good at blacksmithing. You just got to do it,
Exactly.
So I spent a lot more time playing guitar than getting laid.
Well, unfortunately,
in my early life,
let
at
me
least.
put it this way. I'll put it to you this way. I'm not a very good guitar player. What's up, ladies?
Well played. The other thing I'll say about you, the original question here was like, what else would you be doing? I'm always drawn to stuff outdoors.
Okay.
Like manual labor.
Oh, yeah.
Like construction or contracting. Like,
well, I can get you into that.
Things and put it together. And hey, man, that all interests me a lot more than you'd think. I think a lot of people kind of poo-poo anything that feels like a vocation, But I love that. Like I want to learn how to like weld. I want to learn how to like build a motorcycle. Like these are things that interest me because I like the idea of like this completely concrete finished product. I like fixing stuff. I like working with my hands. I like maintenance. I don't live in that house anymore in Echo Park, but I still own it. and I rent it to people. And 3 days ago, I was there changing out the motion sensor light at the top of the stairs. You guys know what I'm talking about, because it was old and needed to be replaced. And, you know, I'm a landlord right now.
Right.
Like, and I'd rather be a landlord than an actor that calls somebody and pays them $200 to do it for me.
You know, it's an interesting thing because a lot of people probably look at your life or any actor's life and say, God, they must have it perfect. They're fabulous. They're in movies. They've dated celebrities. They have their friends are celebrities, whatever.
I don't want to pretend that I don't feel incredibly lucky and like I haven't had this blessed life, but like the perks are what they are, and then the drawbacks are also what they are.
Of course.
And you know,
and you know, it works both ways.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. You've managed to sort of maintain a pretty good image here. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. You never got caught with like drugs or...
Without going into great detail, I would say that I am more subversive than maybe people expect, but also smart and careful and balanced. So yeah, I have been lucky though. I think anybody could end up with some kind of blemish on their record, you know.
Do you ever have a problem with celebrity? Are you able to walk down a mall? Can you go to the mall? Like
Absolutely.
Stuff like that?
People tend to recognize me like
Would we go to high
every
school
day
together, bro? How do I know?
I get
how
that.
do I know you? How
People
do I know
are
you?
confused by why they recognize me. That happens a lot. And I feel the ebb and flow. So if Bring It On is playing a lot on you know, whatever TNT that week, all of a sudden I'm feeling people recognize me. I'm going, why is everybody suddenly picking me out of a crowd? Oh, it's because look at this. Bring It On's on a loop right now, and people are catching it, and I'm in their subconscious now. You know, I feel it happen that way the most.
You're at a good level, though. I mean, you don't want to... I don't know if I could handle the DiCaprio level of fame where you're being chased around. I mean, is that something you long for?
No, it's not. I mean, I'll take the good with the bad if I can have that level of power and influence and choice in my career and wealth and all of that. I'll take the bad with that, but I have always fancied myself as a bit of a fucking normal dude.
Yeah.
And I like to just be able to live life and not have it impede me too badly.
I've seen a lot of guys get famous and become big assholes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. And in defense of that,
right.
I will say that, you know, your life changes when all of a sudden you know that people are gonna know who you are. It's weird to live in a way where people who you don't know who you are. It's a form of infamy or something. And at its most extreme levels where people are losing their fucking minds over you, it's oppressive. And it will change the best person. It'll change them. It'll change 100%. Them. They'll harden, you know, they'll harden a little where they just have to size everybody up as, what do you want from me? And I get why people turn into shitheads.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like you have to.
Are you one of those overshares on Instagram, or do you ever go on any like social media sites and sort of like, oh my God, guys, like humble brag, first day on new pic?
I was a long time holdout on the social media thing. Like I didn't get Twitter or Instagram until about 3 years ago, which is pretty late to the party.
Right.
I think I was a holdout on mystery being cooler and more valuable to your brand than actual promotion, self-promotion.
Right.
And then I think the world around me changed, and we reached a point where it's all about saturation, and it's all about platforms, and it's all about staying on people's minds, and attention spans have gotten shorter. And like the best example that I like to use is this. I forget if it was Robert Redford or Clint Eastwood. Somebody, you know, in the 70s, they asked one of these guys, would you ever, it must not have been Clint Eastwood, would you ever do TV? Because Clint did TV. And, you know, some movie star, Robert Redford, let's call it Robert Redford. And he said, why would people come pay to see me at the movies if they could see me for free at home?
Right.
Does that hold up now?
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, so the world changed.
Yeah.
And then I jumped on board and went, wow, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and I got to stick with the times. I got to feel like I'm a part of things still. And I'm letting this whole concept pass me by because I think my shit don't stink and I can stay like out of it.
Right.
And I went, nah, I can't. I got to be out there hustling a little. I got to be out there. The people that want to see me need to stay connected to me because that's where we're at now as a culture. I try not to overshare though. Like sometimes I'll have some, you know, bitter criticism of the world or something, and I'll type it out like I'm going to tweet it, and I'll realize like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to put too much negativity out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to like try to shock value anybody. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble.
Good for you.
I don't want to like not speak my mind. but I also don't think everybody needs to hear what I have to say.
So you don't drink and tweet like I do?
I'm sure I have.
I've done some
I guarantee
stupid
I
shit.
have. I just want to entertain. That's what it is.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want to inform or critique or even promote. I just want to entertain people. If I can make you laugh a little because of my Instagram, and I happen to also mention that I'm on TV next week and you should check it out, to me, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that's good.
You know? Yeah.
Are you single? You married or anything?
I'm single.
Have you ever done
Currently
online dating?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
No.
Apparently,
to be perfectly honest, I just joined my first online dating site like a month ago.
is it the celebrity one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was part of it. Like I had a couple buddies who were like, "Oh, dude, you got to get on there." Like people way more famous than you are on there. Nobody's talking about it. It's all good. Like don't feel weird about it. And I went, I'm not getting any younger. I want love.
Right.
Hookups are fun too.
Sure.
Why not get out there a little? And it's been kind of cool. It's been kind of cool actually.
Have you ever had your heart broken?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to get into or nah? I understand if you don't.
My first serious high school girlfriend, like first everything, cheated on me with my best friend while I was shooting Hackers in London.
Híjole.
How about that?
No longer your best friend, I take it? I'd say that's a heartbreak.
Yeah, he's a good dude though. We patched it up. Okay. I patched it up with her ultimately too, but I don't talk to either of them at this point. It's not even a conscious decision. Like it probably would have happened either way, kind of thing.
You find in this business a lot of fleeting friends. You can work with someone and be in the same close quarters with them for 6 months
and get really close and then completely drift.
Gone.
It's okay. That stuff's okay. As long as you're being yourself the whole time, as long as you're not in some weird spiral where you're and then when we're done with this movie, we're gonna start a band together, and then you just never do. You gotta just stay honest about the whole thing.
So I shouldn't ask you about starting a band after the podcast.
I have buddies though where we worked together, we got real close, we never talk, and if we run into each other, it's like
just like
we never
yesterday.
stepped away. It's
That's
all
how,
good.
Those are the best friends. I love that. I have a lot of friends like that too. Yeah. Have you ever turned a job down that you wish you hadn't?
Well, I have turned down jobs that sound crazy for having turned them down. And one or two of them in retrospect, I look back and go, maybe I should have done that. There was this horror movie that shot in Japan that I don't remember the name of that wanted to pay me so much goddamn money, just the most I would have ever been paid in my life. And I was cruising at the time and I went, it's not about the money, man. I don't like this project.
It's about the art, man.
And ultimately, in the scope of my life and my career, I absolutely could have just made that money.
Oh, yeah.
No one would know any different. Right. It would not impede my ability to get or not get any job in the future. But there I was, thinking my shit didn't stink. Right. I should have just cashed in on that one. And the other one that is absolutely crazy to think about is that I got offered one of the lead roles on How I Met Your Mother when it was a pilot. Yeah, and I turned it down.
But at the time you were still doing film. A lot of film at the time, and you were like...
There was nothing I wanted to do less than a live action sitcom.
3-camera sitcom.
Yeah, there was nothing I wanted to do less at the time.
Wow.
And I just went, I'm sorry, I just am so not into doing one of these, and this isn't for me. And I remember like my agent going, well, okay, it's probably going to get on the air. Everybody's talking about this show like it's going to get on the air. Just so you know, there's a lot of money on the table here. And I went, yeah, it's not about that for me. And I turned it down. And here's the real thing. Would I go back and say yes to that now? Yes.
Interesting.
I absolutely would. Do I regret saying no? Not really.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it anyway. But like, I don't sit around going, oh my God, that was such a huge mistake. I just sit around going, you got real close that time. You'll get close again.
Yeah, you'll
keep getting close here and there. But like, in terms of any feeling of regret about it, it has far more to do with just being, 2 months away from 37 and going, wow, I could be worth $30 million right now.
I could have financial security.
I could literally be worth $30 million right now, not work another day in my life if I don't feel like it, say no to every job that comes along for the rest of my life. That would be cool.
So let me present you with this pilot idea I have.
It's called How I Met My Bandmates.
Exactly.
It starts at a podcast.
Here it is.
Just wrapping up. And then
I want to tell you one real quick story about a thing I turned down once.
Okay.
Nothing. I've done everything. The worst shows in the world. We met when I had just done like ESPN.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a call. We have a caller. Big Jesse Bradford fan calling in. So I just done ESPN, and I thought I was like going to be I thought I was going to be doing like a daily show for sports or something like that.
So did I.
I was like, man, this is my thing. And
so did I.
Yeah.
I mean, as you may remember, I was very aware of who you were when we met. I was like, that's the dude on the ESPN show that's like the best one on the show.
Right.
I was excited.
I remember
to
we
meet
started talking about it. So
Yeah.
right after that, casting director brought me into Fox, and he's like, we're really interested in you hosting this show. It's called like The Married Guys, like dating advice to single dudes.
Yeah.
And it would have been me like walking around like, all right, I'm here with Jesse, you're single. All right, man. Now listen, it was like a Queer Eye for the straight guy, but like a married guy, married guy for the single guy.
I get it. Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Kind of.
But I remember I got the offer and the money was good, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know. And at
Yeah.
the time I was developing something else with like a production company. I'm like, I think this is a pass.
Yeah.
And it was the same kind of thing as you. It was like money. No one would have known. The show would have died.
Yeah.
And since then, I was like, I'm taking everything.
Yeah, you know, my dad in his infinite wisdom, age and wisdom and whatever experience at some of these things that I turned down along the way, and I'd talk to him about it and get his thoughts, and he'd kind of go, look, you got to do what you're going to do, but ultimately work begets work and activity begets activity, and I don't think any of this can hurt you. And I've learned since then that he was right. But at the time,
of course,
I was like, you don't know nothing, Dad.
Come on,
I'm
Dad.
going to have this perfect career trajectory where nothing's going to go wrong, and I'm going to, and those are super rare, man.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
know what, though? That's too easy anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if it all goes that perfect for you, what are you really learning along the way? Right now in my life, I feel a little underemployed, but it also feels like one of the most interesting times in my life in terms of like personal growth.
Well, now is when you
Develop.
grow up more and you just realize how to get through the storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's really tremendously gratifying. It's kind of more gratifying than, well, I don't know. I'll check back with you when I'm worth $30 million.
Yeah, we'll get back to you.
Fuck off. Yeah.
So tune in next year.
It's
We'll
so
have-
much more gratifying, by the way. I live in Maui now. Fuck it. You know?
I'm still miserable though.
At heart, I'm a piece of shit. But
Well, listen, Jesse Bradford, I think we probably met 10 years ago. We haven't hung out enough.
something like that.
I'm very happy you came on After Hours at the Burgundy Room.
My pleasure. And we're calling our band the Burgundy Room Bandits, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
BRB, bro.
BRV, baby.
Be right back. There you go, Jesse Bradford. Hey, guys, listen, if you're enjoying hanging out with us here at After Hours at the Burgundy Room, feel free to visit afterhourspodcast.com/iTunes. Leave us a review. Subscribe to the show. Also, links to all the good stuff that me and Jesse were rapping about tonight is in the show notes. And if you'd like to connect online, follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the YouTubes, the whole thing. We're putting up behind the scenes videos, pictures, songs, a lot of good stuff around here. And that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to leave you tonight with Jesse playing a little six string. We got him to pick that guitar up. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us here. Jesse Bradford, once again.
Thank you.
Our guest.
Good to be here.
We'll see you next time around, brother.
Good to be here.
yeah.
Little rusty. But good enough.